Good morning, everybody. We chant the name of the Lord and His glories unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, chanting His name continually, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name, that bath for various souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, and each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy. How huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than the blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself. Give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as I may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Ah, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thy arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. Let us sit down quietly and connect with ourselves within. Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Tridavekraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshwamidhyam Tvam Ram Krishnam Shirasa Namamaha. We salute Shri Ram Krishna, who is without stain, who is eternal and with infinite forms, who has assumed a human body for the sake of the devotees. Thou, O Lord, art the incarnation of that Supreme Being, and thou art also the most worshipful. Om, peace, peace, peace. We will discuss today spiritual dimensions of freedom. I'll begin with Swamiji's quote. Freedom is the one goal of all nature, sentient and insentient. And consciously or unconsciously, we are all struggling towards that goal. Our experience, of course, is completely contrary to what Swamiji is saying about freedom. Because we feel bondage. And it's so pervasive. We have gotten used to it, and we think we mistake bondage for freedom or license. But if Swamiji's quotation is true, then it makes philosophical or metaphysical sense. Because we are not just subject to blind laws. Now nature or creation has a meaning and a purpose or direction. This also clarifies the idea that whatever you do has some form of direction. There is nothing in your life that has been completely useless. It has taught you some lessons, and the lessons are in a way liberating. So whether a person is doing, monks meditating, householders working, and the robber robbing, persons lying, they finally, in the ultimate analysis, they are somehow trying to struggle and to break some of these bondages that they find themselves in. So it explains human life. Because if this pursuit of freedom, which Swami Vivekananda says is the highest morality, it is also something that is perfection. It is also something that is fearlessness. Freedom is also immortality. Freedom is God. So how do you go about it? Freedom is also entails that you need to sacrifice things that you have for others. It may be your time, it may be your energy, it may be your thoughts. Freedom also entails one rock solid, you can say, foundation, and that is the desire to strive consciously and deliberately. Yeah, we are being pushed, but if you take it up consciously, then that journey becomes meaningful. And we have been long travelers, long sojourners in this land, where we feel that it is something that is calling us. We cannot articulate it. We cannot conceptualize it. And we have been struggling to find what is that voice that's beckoning us in all our activities. You stay quiet and you'll find there's something within you is calling out. That goal has been drawing us. So whether you want it or no, as I said, nature has now had a direction. In Sanskrit, it's called Parartatva. That is, Swami Vivekananda says, no nature for the soul, not the soul for nature. We are mistaking this. And the soul is sacrificed to the external world. In fact, nature is trying to educate the soul through various experiences. And as the soul gets educated, Swami Vivekananda gives a beautiful illustration. When you read a book, page after page is turned. You are growing. The book is turning page after page. So nature also gives you one experience after the other. What changes? You grow And after the book is done, nature has finished her work in liberating you. So, Swami Vivekananda also says, within ourselves is an eternal voice speaking of eternal freedom. Its music is eternally going on. We had been too distracted by surface things. First is, there is no something as eternal damnation for anyone. It is just that we are in the process of going towards freedom. No soul can ever be damned. And this was a mistake where all these various philosophies and religions, they kept on telling us how bad we were and how hopeless we were. And also, if you do something, you're going to suffer. It is just not possible for that soul to be damned forever. So, the very beginning is there are two forces that guide the actions of men and women. So, one is the pravritti and one is the nivritti. One is the circling forward, and that is countered by the nivritti, circling inwards. Both these forces, they are responsible for the entirety of actions and thoughts. This circling forward is this me and my. You go out and extend yourself, and then you get exhausted, and by the time you are so weakened, you don't have any capacity or strength to return back rejuvenated. But inevitably, there is a limit, and then it starts breaking, and then you're pulled back. So this nivritti, the circling inwards, and it's happening at every moment of your life. Both these forces are at play. So when the forces of circling inward predominate, then begins the quest. Yes. Then you ask some fundamental questions. That is, so the idea is to give you an illustration. We don't travel from the circumference straight to the center of the circle through a kind of a through radii. We always orbit slowly. Each orbit, as it circles inwards, is one spiritual dimension. Each is distinct, each has its own characteristics. So I'll go through some of the characteristics of these orbits as you circle back inwards. The first is the world remains as it is, but your relationship with it changes. This is the first dimension of freedom. And this is a profound transformation. You feel like you are a traveler in this, a sojourner in this land. And what am I doing here? What is life's purpose? And etc. These questions start coming out. The first thing is the noise of this world does not frighten you anymore. The bark or the bite of this world does not frighten you. But you keep away from the cacophony, the noise, the hustle and the bustle. You are now slowly, spiritually isolating yourself. This is the first. The second is, there is a clarity in your perceptions about peoples, places and things. And this brings in a great change in your mind as well as the senses. There are physical changes. Your voice changes, etc., etc. You are much more calmer, you are much more controlled, and this is that clarity that gives you an insight into things. This is extremely important. So this is the second dimension as you happens that as you circle inwards. Your food habits, your eating habits, everything kind of undergoes modifications. And you will see it yourself that there is a tendency towards contemplating a particular thing, what you've heard, what you've studied, or what you are getting more deeper. That's the idea. The third is there is a definite change in your center of gravity. At the same time, you have become more kind, compassionate, helpful. You can understand people's pains. Otherwise, what happens in the name of spirituality and religion, people become so selfish and become so insulated against everything else. And they think this is spirituality. That is not spirituality at all. That may be some narcissistic form of spirituality, but it's not real spirituality. Your work, whatever work you've been doing, your time has become extremely precious. And when you work, you want to see its kind of impact on the people and on the world. You're not just doing it frivolously. You're doing it with a kind of a definite motive, and with a definite, you can say, purpose. The ordinary restlessness has tapered off, but there is a great sense of spiritual unease, and that is called, that Sri Ramakrishna says, Vyakulata. That is the thirst for God. This takes place. A person may be going around doing everything, but there is a definite, you can say, tug in the heart. That is the spiritual restlessness that comes. And this is a sure sign of progress. So these are the external signs, the three. As we come down, you get better and better. The first thing that happens is your spiritual practices get honed, get fine-tuned. And now you can really see the results of your spiritual practices coming in. It's not that you have begun here, you have begun some time back, okay, slowly. But this year that you feel that when you meditate, you can really plunge yourself inside. You get absorbed. So your japa and dhyana, etc., gets better and better. The quality of your spiritual life has become so dominant that the external world has ceased to disturb you at all. In many people, they find a kind of a constant, you can say, touch of the divine within. I mean, in touch in the sense, it might be felt like a kind of a constant pain. Not the usual physical pain. There's a kind of a throbbing inside. There's some kind of that restlessness has grown to a greater degree. So the spiritual practices can be any yogas that are delineated in various scriptures. So here you are now focused. So this is the fourth dimension. As you meditate, you are also image or the symbol on which you are meditating has become sharp, defined, and luminous. The mind has stabilized. And so there is a great sense of, you can say, spiritual yearning that thing. It's like tantalizingly close. You could just go and kind of reach out, and that spiritual, you can say, fervor, that pain now, that spiritual, you can say, yearning has become more intense. The more you meditate, the more you do japa or any kind of spiritual practices, not necessarily that you will have to sit down and meditate. The image of the deity or the symbol has slowly overtaken your conscious mind. You, as it were, go around the world doing all your work. Like if you are meditating on Holy Mother, what happens is you will see like Holy Mother as a kind of a transparency which is being superimposed on everything you are doing. You are seeing things, you are interacting with things, with people and everything, but like as if Holy Mother is kind of being superimposed on that. The mind is doing that because mind is suffused with that image, with that. It's deeply etched now. Also along with this, there is a great sense of joy. There is no doubt that you will find that initially people start meditating and saying it's a pain, very painful. The back hurts and leg hurts and everything is hurt, and then my phone is ringing and oh my God, so much. So here all those things have completely ceased. You are doing nothing, but you are getting tremendous joy. And you can sit down for hours. You might just be oblivious of time and place. You'll be doing it for hours and hours, and there will be a kind of a great efflux of joy. You will be able to hear the sound of the mantra, if you're doing a mantra, thundering inside. Yes, it's not going to disturb everything. It's thundering inside. So this is what happened. There's a strong sense of conquest and exaltation. So in the fifth dimension, the subtle mind has opened, the spiritual mind, which is the gateway to the higher mind. So in the fifth dimension, there comes that the opening of that spiritual mind or the higher mind, and the concentration now has become rock solid. There's just, if you concentrate on something, it's like the mind and that object or whatever becomes completely fused, becomes one. And to disengage, of course, you get to disengage when it's necessary. But whatever you do, you, as it were, pour your whole soul into that. When you're working out, you're playing, or studying, or doing anything, you have put your whole soul into it. That's the advantage of that spiritual mind opening up. So it's a very subtle psychic mind. At this time, you will find you can see, I won't say intuit, you can see things. So in the Upanishads, they give you an indication like snowfall, smoke, sun, wind, fire, firefly, lightning, crystals, moon, etc. These forms coming before gradually manifest the Brahman in yoga. Some of these perceptions, they come in. They are not just ordinary perceptions, they are super sensuous perceptions. They come. And this is what actually is the first indication of that dough. of that higher mind is opened, and now nothing can ever close it. No, it can close, don't worry. But generally, it's open, it's open. So this, it might not happen. Like you might see the whole sky full of like fireflies. The external world is not full of these fireflies, but you are seeing the world in a very different light. Like Sri Ramakrishna says, when the spiritual current races up till here, then it's like a rocket going up in your chest. It is there where you see your individual soul. But this is not yet. We have not come to the individual soul yet. Wait. After this, you enter into a vast realm. Now, this is the sixth dimension, of course. We are still on the sixth dimension. We see this universe vast. It's really vast. I mean, it's mind-boggling. When you enter into this spiritual realm, to this mind that's opened up, you will see an even vaster realm. And this is where most spiritual aspirants, they get thwarted. How do I traverse this vast field? Not for me. It's just impossible. Yeah, saying here one feels like a kind of a small speck in this vast ocean of mind. But this is a place where you also you feel that you are now being carried forward. Like you are doing 1% effort and something else is doing the next 99% and pulling you through. You traverse field after field. Most spiritual aspirants, even the elite ones, they stumble here. Yes, because this field is a field of possibilities. This is a completely different realm, and here you get to see a lot of visions, internal visions. Of course, that's not a criteria for spiritual life, but there are also lurking many powers that come, and that spiritual aspirants gets distracted, sidetracked, and that's what these areas, they test the soul. So there is in the Yoga Sutras, in the Yoga aphorisms, they say, it's a warning. The yogi should not feel allured or flattered by the overtures of celestial beings for fear of evil again. Yeah, even the celestials, these semi-celestial, these demigods, there are plenty. We think it's an empty space. We are not talking about anything empty. The spiritual realm is full of beings, but they want to see that you are strong enough. So the Yoga Sutras is this is Patanjali Yoga Sutra is saying a yogi should not feel allured or flattered by the overtures of celestial beings for fear of evil again. What evil? I mean, you stop proceeding towards the goal. You get distracted. Yeah, you're driving down and you see a beautiful sign and you're hungry. There's a hamburgers. Say, okay, let's go to, yeah. And then you go to that hamburger, you can say joint there, and then you find something else, and you meet someone else, and then you're completely distracted. It takes you away. Maya works like that. So this is a realm that is vast, yet with plenty plenty of dangers as well as you find a lot of grace also. This is the kind of a mixed bag one experiences there. So that is felt. Now then, the seventh dimension is you find yourself, you have overcome almost the entirety of this realm, vast realm. The internal intelligence has become so limpid, so luminous. Now it's not going to get distracted anymore. And it can see within itself. You will see that the entirety of this universe is nothing but intelligence. There's intelligence from the lowest to the highest. In this stage, where you see intelligence displayed everywhere, even in the very cells of your body, you will find it tremendously intelligent and doing its own work, guided by this universal intelligence. The entire world appears shadowy like. This is the seventh dimension. So, yeah, shadowy? Yeah, you can interact with it, but you'll see, you're seeing the reality. Partly. So, here you remain. Whatever you take up, you will see that intelligence and knowledge comes to you like a flash. If I see this, I take it up, I can know the past and the future also of this object. It comes to me in a flash. My mind does not have to go through logical processes, kind of study this, study that, and assume this. Knowledge flashes. This is the seventh dimension, and it's a wonderful dimension. In the eighth dimension, the mind has come completely under your control. Was it under your control? No. That is, we hardly know the mind. It's just a surface, some waves in the mind, and we think that this whole world is nothing but a mud puddle. There are vaster realms of the subconscious mind. That has been completely now conquered. It's called Vasana Kshaya and Manonasha. The mind, the ordinary mind, as it were, is dead. It is killed. It's called Manonasha. That is, Swami Vivekananda used to say, the old Christians used to say, the old man must die. This is the idea. The old person, that person you thought you were, now is dead and a new person has grown in its stead. So do you have to change your name and all that? No, you don't have to change your name. But you know the difference between shadow and reality. That's what happens. Okay. In the ninth dimension, your entire mind has become luminous. When the subconsciousness has been kind of eradicated, you feel your mind has become part of that cosmic mind. And your mind has become luminous. As the Upanishad say, Tatra ayam purusho swayam jyotir bhavati. In that state, O Janaka, the person becomes the light. This is what actually happens. Here, old conceptions of God have been completely eradicated. God with 2 hands, 4 hands, 20 hands, 10 heads, all those things that you have heard about God, they are all dismissed. Completely. It's all over. So people say there's a kind of a period of atheism that one goes through. It's not atheism. The higher conceptions of God now are being experienced. All these things were like, toys in kindergarten. You use some, then you proceeded, and you still have the memory of those things. All those old memories are simply brushed aside, and you see that, my God, yeah, really, oh my God, you say, oh, this is God. I see. I mean, there's no personal God, okay? I mean, there is somebody who comes and say, this is me, okay? You will see that this vast universe of the spiritual world becomes a dwarf in front of God's infinity. That happens here. Okay. So the mind has become completely luminous, limpid, and it can meditate on itself now, on its own self. And that self is recognized as the divine. There is now no distinction between what you experienced about God, the higher conceptions of God, and your own Atman, yourself, as the distinctions have been eradicated, and you can meditate on that. And you'll see we see oneself as. So the God which was, we thought, just external has now also become partly internal and everything. At this stage, the 11th stage, 11th dimension, your mind has become, that is you, the mind has become luminous. That you could like crush the whole earth if you wanted. Not only the crush, the whole Milky Way can be crushed. The mind has become so strong. That is a conquest of matter. So you see, wherever there is matter, that is material substances. There is also time and space. One has transcended time and space, and so all material things, which of course it's not a big thing, because half our conceptions of matter are all wrong. So these three, Desh, Kal, Nimitta, time, space, and causation. Causation, the cause and effect of nature in nature. These three are linked. These three are completely broken, and one becomes untrammeled. So this is the conquest, the entire conquest of nature. With these comes the various yogic powers. But of course, we are not interested in that. We are now interested. So this is the 11th dimension. Oh, you can say 10th. And then this is the place where you actually become liberated. The next dimension. So what happens there? Well, it cannot be described. But Shankaracharya has, in his crest jewel of discrimination, spoken about it. And this is a universal experience. I'll quote. This one, he uses the word Vidwan, this one, realizes in the heart, through samadhi, the infinite Brahman, which is something of the nature of eternal knowledge and absolute bliss, which has no exemplar, which transcends all limitations, is ever free and without activity, and which is like the limitless sky, indivisible and absolute. Now, these stages of freedom have been according to yoga and Vedanta. But what if I see the personal God? Yeah, of course. If I see the personal God even on the 5th or the 6th stage, or 6th dimension, that is in a way liberation. Because Sri Ramakrishna says, you see, somehow you get to meet the owner of the house. Those guards outside, they'll try to push you out and dissuade you, etc. But somehow jostle with them, elbow them, and if you have to even jump over the wall, get inside and meet the owner, and then the owner will tell you, oh, I've got this and this and this and this. And once you're acquainted with the owner of the house, those low guards will not going to disturb you anymore. So somehow get the vision of the personal God, and then you will find God himself taking through this. That's the best way. Because if God has done all these, He designed all these things, He's going to take care of it. It's always like that. They say that, yeah, a woman, she becomes a mother. She gives birth to a child, and then now we think, oh, her work is over. No, he has got trapped inside it. You have created it, you take care of it. That poor child does not know why kind of heckling me, irritating me, troubling me. No, that is what actually happens. You just can't get out of this. God has created this universe, that God is now trapped in it. He's got to take care of it. That's the reason why say somehow get in touch with God, and they say God is our very own. So instead of going down, this impersonal path, the samadhis and this and that, He himself, she herself will give you that, the entire realization. So in Vedanta, there are 3 types of liberation. One is the complete. You become liberated, you are living, and you go around. This is called a Jivan Mukta. The other is Videha Mukta. When you've given up your body, you've thrown off the body, you become liberated. And third is Krama Mukti, that is gradual liberation. Most devotees, they attain this kind of liberation. You get liberated in stages. Stages in the sense of you, as it were, has a vision of God. You'll find yourself with God, within God. And then you'll see higher and higher dimensions of that same God, that personal God. And the best way to get this whole thing done in this age is get to Ramakrishna. Now Ramakrishna is a nice, quiet, sitting down, standing, laughing, smiling. But within Ramakrishna are degrees and degrees or dimensions of freedom that we have been enumerating. This is the doorway. Where is the doorway? Ramakrishna? Yeah, Ramakrishna is in your own heart. You enter in, and as you enter, you will see higher and higher dimensions. That he is not just an saint of Dakshineshwar and an avatar and all that. He is a personal God. And then that personal God itself will show you its higher nature. It's called a Vishishta Advaita, qualified non-dualism. And then it goes to, that is, if you want it, if he wants it. So there was one monk that said, I was a roaring non-dualist, and I was telling another monk, he was a senior monk, about all these things. So see, Sri Ramakrishna says, like he's seeing as if mother is following Ramakrishna, offering something, liberation. So nirvana. So he's saying, see, Sri Ramakrishna is saying, Mother, don't give this to me. I'm not interested. I spit on this. I spit on this. That's even nirvana. So that monk is saying, you see, for me it's like this. I spit on your nirvana. And I was saying, oh my God, he taught me a lesson. There are various paths to that liberation. So somehow, if you can just open that higher mind, then the divine takes over, takes you to that vast field of spiritual, you can say, luminosity, and then we come down to the end. So what happens? What happens? It's like I generally give that example. You will see infinity in everything. If your karma is still dominant in the sense of it has not yet let go, you will start rolling down, but your soul has become free. You will see infinity in each and everything. Like you take a drop of water or a snowflake, anything, you will see infinity. You will see infinity everywhere. That is the goal. That is the stage. So it's a stage that has been reached over and over again. Because Shri Ramakrishna says the goal of human life is to see God. Yeah, nobody had, when we were young, nobody had told us. When we are growing, and then we say, oh my God, really? Okay, this is what life is supposed to be. And you see, every religion has preached some form of salvation. Hinduism has preached moksha, mukti. That's the goal. You have to strive. If you don't do it now, you get another chance. You don't do it the next time, you will get another chance. You keep on doing it till you come to this stage. One day, some other day, you will have to come to. There is no other path for the soul. It is going towards that only. Those who do it consciously, deliberately, will reach that goal. Om, peace, peace, peace. We have any questions? All thank you and pranams only. Okay. Yes.
Thank you for the lecture, Swami. I just had one question, and forgive me if someone has already asked this question in the past. So, are the actions, the thoughts, and the things we even experience, is this a part of our free will, or is this just God, I guess, manifesting that intelligence you spoke of for us to then kind of pursue these thoughts, actions? Really, my question is like, do we have a free will, or is this thing kind of predestined? And this is something that I've always.
Yeah. The first thing is, there are two parts to this question. There is no such thing as a free will. There is a will. Okay? Because your will is dependent on something coming from external. There has to be a stimulus, and then you want to do. So it's not free that way. It is bound with conditions, time, circumstances, etc. What we talk about free will is just choices. You make some choices. Okay, so that is it. Because intelligence right now is bound by memory, with your perceptions, with your cognitions, with your personality, etc. It's all mixed up. There is no separate part of the mind called a will. It is when intelligence starts pressing itself, it is called will. Will is an action of intelligence. Okay, that much. You have intelligence, but intelligence is dependent on so many other factors. So there is no free will. And even today, the 15th, 16th, 17th century philosophers talked great about free will. There is no free will. Now Even scientists are saying there's no such thing as free will. You make your choices and that's it. Okay. At the same time, we are not automatons. We are not completely. We do have a say in things. Otherwise, being an automaton would be like something like this podium. You have no freedom at all. You're bound completely by laws. At the same time, you feel, yeah, I can overcome certain difficulties and the entire, look at this place, Seattle. There was no Seattle 100, 200 years ago. There is a Seattle. Who has done it? It's the will of a person. The person's that will is expressing itself in work, karma. So it can transform. It is transforming things. So you are not an automaton, and you don't have a free will. Yet what you have is adequate to liberate you. About God doing everything, that comes only towards the end, when you know that everything is being impelled by something divine. Till that time, you better exercise your own powers that are inherent in a human being. Like if I have hands and I don't use my hands, I keep it like this, nobody is going to be blamed except me. Okay, so we have our faculties, we better use it. So this is, and this will become stronger. You can become very strong. Like Swami Vivekananda says, at my will, mountains will crumble. Have that sort of energy, have that sort of faith. And so that is what actually is. There is no free will. Will is bound, but it has enough powers to transform you and the world also around. Yeah, again, at the same time, you are not an automaton, but there is no difference between you and any kind of a machine. Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe the differences between a glimpse and kind of being established in Brahman?
Yeah. The question was, can you differentiate between having a glimpse and being established in that particular? Many people have glimpses of this spiritual state, and these, as I said, that smoke, like firefly, sun, moon, etc., etc., certain things manifest and you get a glimpse. That is the beginning of a spiritual life. That is, that glimpse will start drawing you. It's only now that that glimpse has to become stabilized in your mind, and for that you will have to work hard. How hard? Well, that glimpse does not liberate you, as it were. You still feel bound, because bondage is just your old personality, your old individuality. The day you have a glimpse and that makes you completely transformed into, you feel universal, that is enough. So at the highest level, a glimpse will do, but at the lowest level, lower level in the sense middling also, that glimpse is not sufficient to break the present bondages that you have.
So as an example, let's say, there's the common analogy of like rope and snake, right? So let's say you have a glimpse and you see the snake as a rope, but later it comes back to being a snake. Is it better to proceed as if it's a snake, or is it assume it's a rope?
When you must remember the one thing. There are not two things. There is no rope and there is no snake. There is one thing. You are mistaking that one thing for another. Okay. So when when your perception has, oh, this is a rope. And then later on you will find it appears like a snake, you will not be deluded anymore. Swami Vivekananda one time was walking down the, you can say, those deserts in Gujarat, and he used to see beautiful lakes, shimmering, and he was one day thirsty. He said, let's go and drink water from there. And then he goes, and then those lakes disappear, and with a flash it comes, oh, this is a mirage that I've read about on there. The next day he began his journey again, and again those shimmering lakes appeared, that mirage. But this time he knew what they were. So he was not going towards them. So similarly, at that stage, a glimpse of Brahman as a rope comes, all your illusions get completely destroyed. The illusions that this is the world. But on the lower stages, that I get something, there's a huge streak of a psychic, you can say, possibilities within all of us. All of us have that. And that is why we are not kept quiet. That psychic, you can say, streak within you will try to upset things. And it will give you glimpses of certain things. Those are different from that highest, you can say, glimpses of. There you get just a glimpse, you know what it is, everything is over. But these other glimpses on the psychic level, they will come. And it's not only that, they will come often as you keep on practicing. And that will strengthen your resolve, strengthen your practices. There's no doubt about it. These are not, but look at them as now milestones. These are milestones as you're traveling. We used to look at it like that only. Okay. So, except for thank you, there's nothing here. Okay. So then we can. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. I will be there in the library if you have any further questions.